For India's best podcasts and audio stories, listen to earshot.in or download the Earshot app.
Some very sad news for all of you, and I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight.
Somewhat like a scheduled caste is mostly found engaged in sanitation work in India traditionally, there was a time in the US when collecting garbage from the neighborhood used to be a vocation limited to the blacks, the Americans of African origin. Robert Walker and Nicole Cole of Memphis, Tennessee were two black Americans engaged in the task of keeping neighborhoods clean. On 1st February 1968, while they were going about their jobs, the garbage-carrying truck met with an accident, killing both. The incident brought the pathetic work conditions for sanitation workers in the US to public attention. People were angry, even as the sanitation workers had already gone on strike. The strikers, mostly black, carried with them placards that read, "I am a man," during the demonstrations. By then, Martin Luther King Jr. had won the Nobel Peace Prize. He had become the voice of African Americans' civil rights. But there were murmurs of dissent against this popular figure. These included blacks, who thought that King's non-violence ways would deliver limited success in changing the racist regime. They were drawing closer to Malcolm X, who would not eschew violence to seize the rights denied to the black population. King therefore decided to make his sphere of influence bigger. He felt the need to include whites in his campaign. The opportunity arrived in the middle of the Vietnam War, which had sparked off at the end of the Second World War in 1945. King threw his weight behind the American population's already growing discomfort with the war. He delivered a speech remembered as Beyond Vietnam, where he was highly critical of the US administration. He posited that the money spent on this war could be better spent on uplifting the lot of the poor. He said that the poor would now be denied the grants allotted for their empowerment, and all the welfare schemes would come to a grinding halt. He said a society built on values was preferable to one based on jingoism. He accused the then American dispensation of killing hundreds of thousands of innocent people.
Why are you joining the voices of dissent? Peace and civil rights don't mix, they say. Aren't you hurting the cause of your people, they ask.
The position King had taken with his speech Beyond Vietnam had a universal appeal, which drew to him crowds across races and colors. The socialist and other leftist streaks observed in the American society enhanced King's appeal all the more. King was accused of being a closest communist. Some even alleged he was seditious. While the allegations remained just that, allegations, they were enough to inspire hatred for him in a section of the American society. There were sparks beneath the surface that could break out into full-blown fire anytime. Meanwhile, Memphis was still witnessing the strike by sanitation workers. King, disturbed by the plight of the blacks, decided to visit Tennessee, accompanied by his associates. King checked into the Loran Motel on 3rd April 1968. This was among the few places where the blacks did not encounter racist conduct of the whites. Overlooking a bad cold that King had that day, he addressed a huge gathering at the Mason Temple Church. He said he was not sure he would live long, but he would ensure before dying that the blacks got their rights.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop.
The next day, 4th April, was ill-fated. King was scheduled to have dinner with the Memphis church minister Rev Samuel Billy Kyles. At about 6 p.m., King left room number 306 of the motel, dressed in the trademark black suit and tie. His longtime associate, Andrew Young, called from inside the room, reminding him it was cold outside and he had forgotten his coat. Before King could answer his friend, the place reverberated with the sound of a gunshot. It was a bullet fired from a Remington .3006 rifle that pierced through his right ear, broke his jaw, and struck his spinal cord. King was rushed to St. Joseph's Hospital, where he was declared dead at 7:05 p.m. One gunshot changed the direction of the civil rights movement in the US. But nobody knew the assassination at that point, even as the news spread like wildfire across the globe. Riots broke out in Chicago, Washington, and about 100 other places in the country. At least 35 people lost their lives in the unrest. The assassin was, however, spotted soon, although he was not arrested immediately. Police recovered the gun, carrying the fingerprint of the killer, used for the murder. James Earl Ray, the assassin, was a small-time criminal who had even served the US Army for a while. The 40-year-old Ray had served prison times earlier. Before being spotted at the spot of the assassination, he was seen in jail. It is not quite clear how he had escaped, but the FBI had all the details needed to pin him down besides his fingerprints on the weapon of murder. The whole country was plastered with posters of Ray, the wanted. However, Ray had fled from the US by then. He was finally arrested on 8th June at the Heathrow Airport of London and deported to the US. But King's family held that the US administration had a role to play in the assassination. Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife, believed that the head of the FBI, J. Edgar, had got her husband bumped off, and Ray was a mere pawn. During the trial that followed, Ray almost substantiated what the assassinated leader's widow had suspected. A certain Raoul had given the contract to kill King. Anyway, to escape the gallows, Ray pleaded guilty on 10th March 1969, believing the court would take a considerate view of the confession as it saved precious time of the judiciary. He was sentenced to 99 years imprisonment. Ray died of kidney failure at the age of 70 while still serving the sentence. But in such killings, it becomes tough to ascertain who is the conspirator. Whenever a voice for the poor has been raised, it has almost always been silenced by execution. In the next episodes of Assassination, we will bring you more such stories around infamous murders at www.earshot.in.
For India's best podcasts and audio stories, listen to Earshot.in or download the Earshot app.
Earshot, here and now.